41. And in Mark's gospel, he depicts Jesus as the servant God. And when Jesus came, he demonstrated his servanthood. Each of the gospels show Jesus in a different light. Not that they have different, they're very much similar, but for instance, John shows the deity of Christ over and over again, that Jesus is God, that Jesus is God. Mark shows the servanthood of Jesus. And Mark uses some interesting word in the Greek we talked about last week, which was, who remembers that? Where's Cassie when you need her? The historical present tense. And he uses that, and in Greek we don't have it in English. In English we would translate it as the past tense, but in Greek it's the historical present tense. And the whole idea is to put you in that place, as if you are in that exact same situation, as if it is happening right now. Because the truth is, when you have a relationship with Jesus, what happened to others in the past, you will find yourself in that boat. And his word is written directly to you for the times that you're in that situation. So keep that in mind as we look at chapter 4. And it says, on the same day, when evening had come, he said to them, let us cross over to the other side. On the same day. On the same day as what? Well, if you were to look back a little bit, we'd see that Jesus is speaking to these multitudes of people. So many that he actually has to get into a boat and set off just a little bit out into the Sea of Galilee, because the crowd is that intense. And he's teaching them in parables. And he tells them about the seed and the sower. And what's the point of his parables? He's teaching them about the need for faith that bears fruit. Keep that in mind. When Jesus talks about faith, he expects that faith to do what?
Bear fruit.
Bear fruit. Keep that in mind. All right. It says, so that same day, when the evening had come, he said, and remember last week it said it's in green, it's in yellow there for a reason, because that's one of those verbs that's meant for you to identify with. So he's saying, what happened then will also happen to you in your life whenever you're reading this. So keep it in mind. Okay, so he said to them, let us cross over to the other side. Cross over to the other side of what?
Water.
Okay, what water? The Sea of Galilee. What do we know about the Sea of Galilee? Chachi, in your great geographical mind, tell us something about the Sea of Galilee.
I think it is 12 and a half miles long and from 4 to 7.5 broad. Its depth is 80 to 200 feet. Okay. Why is it significant that its depth is only at the deepest part 200 feet? And I'm glad Chachi was here today. All right, why is that significant? It's called the Sea of Galilee, it's more like a lake. But because it's only 200 feet deep, storms rise up in a hurry. It doesn't take a whole lot to change that because it doesn't have this tremendous mass to offset the meteorological conditions in the area. So in other words, storms come up really fast and they can be really severe. Keep that in mind. All right, so the same day when he said faith needs to bear fruit, he says let's go over to the other side. This is the first century Galilean boat. And actually they did find one, a boat. There was a kind of a drought along the Sea of Galilee, and this was in 1986 that they found this boat, and it dates back to the first, not this one, but they found a boat that looks pretty much like that, except, older. And they found it, and it dates back to the first century. So look at what it is. I want you to see the picture here. This thing's about 20, I think it's about 27 feet long. It's about the deepest part. What's that?
I'd say more like 26.
Yeah, you would, because that's you. Okay. At the deepest point, it's about 4 feet deep in the very center. It's largely flat bottom. Okay, that way you can get up kind of close to the shore. See what it's got right there? See that?
The bow.
Well, the pointy end's the bow. The other pointy end's the
Stern.
See, I used to work for Sea Ray, so I know the pointy end of the boat goes in the front. Okay. Well, this one had kind of two pointy ends. Okay, so you see this little thing right here?
The platform? That's like a deck, sort of. There's also one here, but it's hard to see. This is the, what did we say this was?
Stern.
The stern. Okay, there's significance to that. All right, the front part, the bow, the pointy end, is where on that little deck there, that's where they keep all the nets and things like that. So you've got this boat, not very big, in a lake that's what? What do we say? 200 feet deep at the deepest point, about 12 and a half miles wide, and about what, 7 miles across, something like that. So now you're going to go across 7 miles of water. The good thing is, if you get in the middle and you capsize, you can always swim back, right? No. You ever try to swim in choppy waters?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we went, Dawn and I, remember when we went snorkeling? See, I get seasick really easy. You do too? That's why you bought a boat. Yeah, because I think it's better, right? Anyhow, so we went down to the Keys. We're off, I think it was off Isla Morada. And it was, I mean, the ocean was as smooth as it could be. And our buddy has a boat, and he says, hey, we'll go out to this reef, we'll go snorkeling. Great. Guess what's happening over the reef?
Choppy.
Hey, but if you get in the water, that'll be better, right?
No.
No, because when you're snorkeling, what are you doing? You're still on top of the water. And you're thinking, this is absolutely not any better at all. But thank God, when we got off into the water, they gave us a, what do they call that, chicken line? Yeah. You know why? Because you can't swim. I mean, when waves like that, I mean, you're not going anywhere. If you didn't have the chicken line to draw you back onto the boat, you're dying. I mean, you can't go 5 feet. This lake is 7 miles across. This is what he's telling you. Go out in this lake, in this little bitty boat that's made to come close to the shore. There's no below deck. This is what they're traveling in. Okay. So he says, let's go over to the other side. Now, when they had left the multitude, they took him along with them as he was. Okay, they took. Again, it's that tense where you're supposed to be drawn into this. This is where you will find yourself at some time in your life. So they took him along as he was. Why does it matter that it's as he was? Jesus, as he was. All right, what's not in this boat? I can show you the picture again.
Life preserver.
There's no life preserver. There's no jacket. There's none of those. Those little jackets, those things work. You know, I went one time whitewater rafting. You put that little jacket on, you go down, right up you come. No thought whatsoever. Right up you come. They didn't have that. They didn't have the SS Minnow life preserver. They didn't have anything. They're on this boat. They went just as they were. So they've got some nets in the front. How much is that going to help? Not at all. I mean, what do nets do?
They sink too.
They sink and they get you tied up and you're out of luck. So they're in this boat 4 feet deep. 4 feet deep. Okay. As he was. And other little boats were with them at the point until they left. The other boats were with them while they were speaking. When Jesus was first speaking to the crowd, remember he got out in the boat and he was out a little bit out in the sea so he could speak to the multitudes. Well, there's also little boats around listening. But at the point where he says, okay, we're going across to the other side, the other little boats stay there. Okay. Verse 37. And a great windstorm arose. A great windstorm. What will a great windstorm do to the Sea of Galilee?
Rough it up.
A roller coaster.
Bad. Bad. It arose.
I'm getting seasick.
Just thinking about it. You know, seasickness doesn't go away either. You know, I mean, I got off that boat. I mean, it was probably 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm still going. Bad. A great windstorm arose. The word arose. Historical present means you're going to find yourself in this place one day. You're going to find yourself one day and there is going to be a tremendous windstorm. You're going to find yourself in a very, very rocky place. And you wish that seasickness was the only problem. Yeah. And the waves beat into the boat so that it was already filling. See that?
Not a big boat.
It's not a big boat. That's the same one. It's a slightly pointier version of the same boat. But look at that particular boat right there. That's exactly what that means. It says, and it was filling up. See where the water is? See the water in there?
Yep.
That's almost all the way to the top, right? What happens next?
Sinks.
You sink. Now this one actually has Jesus sleeping on the back there. He's resting. It was a big day. He's in the back. I'm thinking there was a little something covering him because it was probably the water not getting him, not making him up because he was asleep. Right?
Yep.
All right, now these are fishermen. Fishermen, now still, I looked at the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the country. Commercial fisherman is number 2 on the list you don't want to be in. At the top, the most, you know. So these fellas are not wimpy guys. And they are freaking out. Because look how full their boat is. And this is not one of them styrofoam line dudes that you can't really sink. This guy will sink. Matter of fact, they found one that had sunk in the Sea of Galilee. So these guys are freaking out. All right. It was already filling. It was nearly to the top. But he, Jesus, was in the stern, asleep on a pillow. And they awoke him. What do we say about awoke? See, it's one of those things. You're going to feel like sometimes, like you got to wake Jesus up. Do you have to wake Jesus up? No. But you're going to feel that way. And they said to him, they called out to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we're perishing?" What do they feel like?
It's the end.
We're dying. And they're sailors. They know how this thing works. When water gets to the top of the boat, what happens?
It's done.
Time to go. How do they feel? They feel like this.
Perfect storm.
Well, that was a scary movie.
That was good. I like that.
I'm getting seasick.
That's what they feel like. Right there. Right at that very moment, that's them. Right there. They're thinking,
Yeah.
uh-oh. Oh. And they feel that way for good reason. These aren't guys like me and Bill that if we get... I mean, I almost got seasick today and the boat was docked. We're not talking about people like us. We're talking about real manly men. And they're still... because the boat can go down. There's going to be times in your life that you feel that way. Then he arose. Jesus arose and he rebuked the wind. And he said to the sea, "Peace, be still." He stands up and he rebukes the wind. What's that mean to rebuke?
He calmed.
Chastise. No?
Yeah, more like chastise. You know, actually what it is when he stands up, the way he says this is pretty much like, "Stop it, you're scaring them." Now there's a difference. Now when we were in seminary, there was a story about Xerxes. Xerxes is the king of Babylon, right? And he's actually during the Persia. He's the king of Persia, and during the Greco-Persian wars, he's actually he makes this bridge, like a pontoon bridge. And his pontoon bridge falls apart, so he's mad, as you would be, and he sends his army out to flog the sea.
That'll teach it.
Yeah. The sea was very sad, and they never did it again. Imagine you're the guy that's got, okay. This is not like that. Jesus is different than Xerxes. When Jesus says something, things change. Now here's the interesting thing. That word, "be still." Now this is another one. Where's our Greek scholar? Brad. In Greek, what is that? Which tense is that?
Perfect tense.
Perfect tense.
The perfect tense, which means what?
Before the words were uttered.
Be still. He said, before the words were even uttered, what happened? It stopped. Just that quick. I mean, it's every word of the Bible is God-breathed. It's there for a reason. It's the exact word that God wants you to know. And Mark uses the tense so that you'll put yourself in that place. When Jesus stood up and rebuked the waves, it stopped that fast. Before the word actually could come out of his mouth. Because just Jesus willing it stopped it. You know, it talks about, there's another place where it says he healed the leper. And he reached out and touched the leper. And that was the same thinking, the same tense. Because before his hand actually touched the leper was healed. That fast. So they go from bad to what?
Great calm.
The wind ceased and there was a great calm. So they're here. freaking out for darn good reason, knowing that at any moment their boat's going to go down. And Jesus, from the moment he stands up, boom, calm. That fast. Mark is telling us this for a reason. Because you will find yourself at some time in that place. Let's go on. Verse 40. But he, Jesus, says to them, why are you so fearful? And what are they thinking?
We almost sank.
Why were we so fearful? Because we've been on a boat before, and we know how the end of the story plays out.
Yeah.
Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? Remember what we started this thing with? It's on that same day. Remember what the day was? What had happened earlier the day? Your faith has to have fruit. Your faith has to produce something in you. Jesus is trying to tell it. I'm not telling you stories just to tell you stories. These aren't good bedtime stories. I'm telling you this for a reason. Your faith needs to be in Jesus Christ. No matter what is going on around you. What did Jesus tell them to do? At the beginning, think back all of 6 minutes. What did Jesus tell them to do? Go to the other side.
Go to the other side. Yes.
What's the natural implication that comes along with that?
You're going to make it.
Yeah.
No
Is
matter
Jesus,
what. Yeah.
Is Jesus done with his ministry yet?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
If Jesus says go to the other side, guess what? You're going to get to the other side. He said, I told you these things for a reason. I want your faith to have a reason. And it needs to bring fruit. That's why he's telling them, why are you so fearful? Why is it you have no faith? And then what did they do?
They were in awe.
Feared some more.
Now you're really afraid.
Yeah.
Now they're fearing exceedingly. And they say to one another, who can this be that even the wind and the sea obey him? All right, I want you to write this down. And I want you to write it down for a reason. Because if you write something down, it will stick in your mind if you never read it ever again. Number one, Jesus speaks to those who know him. But he does not give all the details. You know what? When he told them, go to the other side, did he lay it all out for them? Go to the other side, and you're going to get about halfway across, and this really big storm's going to come up, and you're going to be scared to death, but don't worry about it. You're going to get to the other side. Did he do that?
Nope.
No. In your life, he's going to lead you to do stuff, but he's not going to necessarily give you all the details. And you think, wow, I think I'd rather have the details. Really?
But then
I
we
don't
wouldn't-
know.
We wouldn't depend on him if he had all the details.
Well, do you want to know? Yeah, you want to know that in exactly 2 hours, you're going to think you're dying. I think I'd rather have 2 hours apiece before I think I'm dying. If God were to lay out before you all the struggles you were going to go through in life, would you say, yeah, bring it on?
Oh, no.
No. He's going to tell you what to do. He's going to lead you. Jesus is real, just as real as he was in the first century. Just like he spoke to Mark, just like he spoke to the disciples, he speaks to his people. He still does that. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them. That's in 1 John. We know that. He didn't stop speaking. That's why Mark says, put yourself in this place because you're going to feel it. Number two, when you determine to obey Jesus, something will come up to try to deter you. I don't care what Joel Osteen says. Something will come up that will try to deter you. Did they have something come up to try to deter them? Yes. The same is going to be true for you. When you decide you're going to follow Jesus, there is going to be something that comes up. I mean, that's like, you say, all right, I'm going to start going to church, I'm going to start following the Lord. You will have more opportunities to do something at Sunday at 11 o'clock than you've ever had in your life. No matter what it is. If you determine you're going to follow Jesus, you're going to see problems come up. Number three, you will be confronted with very real, potentially devastating circumstances. The situation they are in, is it real? I mean, they don't have the little virtual glasses on. You know, wow, this is what it feels like when you're drowning. But if I take these off, I'm fine. Now, this was a very real thing that was happening. You will be confronted with very real, potentially devastating circumstances. That's reality. When you determine to follow the Lord, you're going to experience that. Even worse than when you don't. I mean, if you think about it, if you're not even remotely thinking about following after the Lord, Satan really doesn't have to mess with you. All he's got to do is just greet you at the end of the road. Oh, waiting for you for how many years now? But if you determine to follow the Lord, what do you think he wants to do? Stop you.
Yeah.
Something will come up and it will be very real. Number 4. There will be times when you don't feel like God is there with you. That is the absolute truth. There's going to be times when you're going to feel like God's not even here. I mean, what were they in the boat? What did they do? They woke him up and what did they say to him? Don't you care?
Yeah.
We're going to die here and you don't even care. Now those guys were physically close to Jesus. These were the same people that saw him heal people. But this circumstance was so real and so life-threatening that they thought, obviously God doesn't care. You will be in that place. If you haven't been, you will be. It's what you do with it that matters. Number 5. Jesus is greater than anything we will experience. Certainly when you get to the point where you feel like he doesn't even care, remember, he is greater than whatever you're going through. I mean, this was no small problem. This was the boat is going down. This is the violin players are playing on the Titanic deck. This is going down now. But Jesus is greater than that. In whatever situation you're having in your life, Jesus is greater than that. And you might feel like he doesn't care, but if you've given your life to him, he cares. And he is still greater than that. Number 6. Jesus expects that our faith will build upon each new experience. What did he hold them to? Hey, guys, where's your faith? He expects that from us, too. He expects that your faith is actually going to build. When you come to know the Lord, and we had the testimonies that were shared just several weeks ago, and each one realized God was working in their life. They experienced God personally. That doesn't stop there. That's supposed to build. Every time God walks with you through a situation, your faith should grow. So that next time you're in that situation, you're not fearful. Because you expect that he's going to be there. We have that certainty. Number 7. Our faith must lead to total reliance on Jesus for everything. When Jesus talks about faith, it's talking about relying on him for everything. Not just for salvation. It's easy for us to rely on Jesus for salvation because what's your alternative? Well, there isn't one. But can we rely on him for a paycheck? Can we rely on him for our friends? Can we rely on him for the way we act and behave ourselves? Hebrews 10:38. Now the just shall live by faith, but if anyone draws back, my soul has no pleasure in him. What's God saying there? He expects us to live by faith. And what happens if we draw back from that? He's not happy. Jesus wasn't happy with the disciples because they didn't have any faith. The same is true with us. Our goal has to be to make him happy. And that requires living by faith. 1 John 4:4. You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. What's he talking about? Who is in you? The Holy Spirit. From the time you accept Jesus as Lord and Savior, the Holy Spirit dwells within you. And the one who dwells within you is greater than anyone else in the world. What situation can you be in that God cannot work with you through? Cannot bring you through? There's not one. So the question today is, what is Jesus leading you to do? Because he still speaks. This is going to be a time of invitation between you and God. What is Jesus leading you to do? You know, maybe you're here and the first thing he's leading you to do is actually give your life to him. I mean, you can go to church for years and years and never have done that. But if you feel him doing that, then act upon that. Then live by faith. And all you have to do is acknowledge that Jesus is Lord and that you want to follow him the rest of your life. And you can do that right where you are. But if you do that where you are, come forward and acknowledge it publicly. Or maybe you're here and you know that you've heard that voice of the one that says follow you. But he's also leading you right now to do something specific. To return to him. To point to him. To witness to others. To change some aspect of your life. He's working on you. What's he leading you to do? And are you willing to follow? So every head bowed, every eye closed, and you do what God has laid on your heart.